Shalom, and thank you for watching this video from Aydat HaDerekh Synagogue. I hope you are liking the content we are bringing you. If you could like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, that will greatly help us. And to further help bring great content to you from our teachers, if you could please consider to donate to Aydat HaDerekh Synagogue. The link is in the description box below. Thank you for watching.
Okay, so we're in a double portion today. Tazria, or Tazria, if you want to be a little bit more like me, and Metzora. And these two Torah portions contain a good number of the laws relating to purity. And I know most people don't like them. It's like, let's get on to the narratives. But the thing is that we have two Torah portions. We get to do them all at once, and they're an important lead-in into the next bit of narrative that we have in Vayikra, which is Acharei Mos, and that means after the death. After the death of who? Nadav and Avihu. So these, but when you go through the at least for Tazria, if you go through the different sections of the purity law, there's actually a pattern. It's just not a randomness or a random collection of grossnesses and uncleannesses. There's actually a pattern. And what I'd like to do is kind of see if you can catch the pattern. Okay, chapter 12, verses 2 to 8 deals with the purity of the mitzvos of childbirth. Then after that, from 13:2 to verse 11, is Zoris of a person's skin. Zoris, often translated leprosy. I'll get into that in a little bit. 13:12 to 28 is Zoris that's all over the skin. Next is 13:29 to 46, which is Zoris on the beard or head. 13:47 to 59 is Zoris on the clothing. And then finally, in chapter 14, it deals a lot with the Zoris on a house. So did you catch the pattern? Childbirth, the Zoris, the uncleanness begins inside the body, and then it's on the body, and then it completely covers the body, and then it's on the beard, and then it's on the immediate surroundings, which is the clothing, and then finally on your house. So it is a contagion. Nega is a word that you're going to have to learn today, which means spot. When a man shall have in his skin, or in the skin of his flesh, which is basar, a swelling, a scab, a bright spot, and it becomes in his skin a nega, or a plague, or of saras, which is leprosy, then he shall be brought to Aaron the priest, or one of his sons, the priests. So here we begin. Someone gets a nega, which is a plague, and a Kohen must determine if it is or is not Soros. There are many ideas what Soros is or was, and I say is or was, depending on your perspective, on your view, but we all understand that it is not leprosy, it is not Hansen's disease. However, leprosy is as good as any other word that you can choose to indicate isolation, repulsivity, unpalatableness, something that's foul. I mean, all those words, leprosy seems to work pretty well. Then the priest shall look and behold, if the Zoris has covered all of his basar, all of his skin, he shall pronounce he who has the nega as tahor, as clean, because it is all turned white, and he is tahor. Now, there's a big discrepancy there. And what discrepancy, you may ask?
What discrepancy?
Glad you asked. All right. How about this one? A tiny nega renders you impure. But if your whole body is one big nega, if you're a walking and talking negayim, then suddenly you're tahor again. So what do we do with this? It really doesn't make any sense. So if we transfer that dichotomy into a modern day scenario, can we make it work? And I did one here. Okay. Oh, look, Slade, you have this small cancer and it is extremely deadly, and we need to cut it, to poison it, and burn it to eradicate it. But once it metastasizes throughout your whole body, guess what? You're fine. Does that make any sense? So that's why the cancer analogy is not a proper comparison, because Zorus is not a physical malady, and it can't be cured with a shot of penicillin or a scalpel. The slightest nega makes you tameh, but if every single inch of your body is covered with negayim, then you are declared tahor. However, if the Kohen sees live flesh again, you're back to being tameh again. This means that the healing process from total nega coverage makes you tameh again. It's amazing. However, there's a principle that is being addressed here, and it's one that I could not find addressed in any of the Mefarshim. So this appears to be a novel idea. So therefore, take it, leave it. I happen to see this comparison, so I'm gonna go with it. So the generation of Ben David, Messiah. Okay, so that way you know who I'm talking about. So this anomaly caught the glance of Rav Nehemiah in a Baraisa about the pre-Messianic era. Rav Nehemiah says, in the generation when the son of David or the Moshiach will come, insolence will increase, honor will dwindle, the vine will produce its fruit, yet wine will be expensive. The entire kingdom will convert to heresy. The entire kingdom will revert to heresy, and there will be no rebuke. So this Baraisa is used to support an Amoraic viewpoint. Rava said, what is the pasuk? All of it has turned white, it is pure. That's referring to the person who is just one big walking nigga. Rav Nehemiah is saying Mashiach will come when we have resorted to total heresy and total depravity. Depravity. So, here's another one. Oh, sorry, let me give the address to that. Sanhedrin 97a. We read that just a couple months ago. So, in Yoma 6b, we read that a couple years ago. Sifras Chazal discuss if and why the Kohen Gadol must be sequestered for the 7 days leading up to Yom Kippur. Rav Taklifa, the father of Rav Huna, said in the name of Rava, this tells us tumas mace, that is uncleanness from a dead body. Okay, this tells us tumas mace is permitted with regard to the community. There is therefore no need to prevent the Kohen Gadol from contracting this type of tuma. Ravina offers an alternative answer. You can even say tumas mace is merely overridden with regard to the community. Nevertheless, there is no need to sequester the Kohen Gadol from possible tumas mace, because sudden tumas mace is not common at all, whereas tuma in his house is somewhat common. The communal dispensation from tumas mace restrictions is argued. Rav Nachman said it is permitted with regard to the community, but Rav Shesha said it is merely overridden with regard to the community. Now, Rav Nachman said permitted, Rav Shesha said overridden. Okay, those are important words. As a rule, the Torah prohibits a tameh individual from offering sacrifices and considers the sacrifice invalid if the avoda is performed by a tameh person, no matter the source of his tuma. That comes from Zavakin 15a and 17b. However, if the whole of the community is tameh, then the korban pesach and community korbanos can be given in a state of tuma. And those who have sit with Rabbi Steve has heard him talk about this before during Shabbos school. Such is the case now. You would be very hard-pressed to find a person not contaminated by tumus mace because it's contagious. I have it, I touch you, you have it, you touch her, she has it, and so on and so on. If we are all impure from a dead body, if we are all tumus mace, we can celebrate the Korban Pesach at Yerushalayim. Further information on this can be found in Rav David Blake's article that's called Korban Pesach Bazman Hazeh. And you can look that up. And if you want, I can give you that and you can look it up. I mean, it's a pretty intense article. Now, Rav Blake is a prolific writer. He has written a Seder of sorts for the Birkat HaKama, which is a prayer that is said every 28 years. Last time it was done was in 2009. So it's forthcoming, so hopefully I'll be alive for that one as well. But he is also best known for his multi-volume works and his participation on government panels for bioethics. So if you've heard his name, I can almost guarantee it has to do with bioethics. In Sanhedrin 17a, the Gemara is discussing rulings on how a Sanhedrin is to deliberate a case, a capital case, a case that will end up in the death penalty. And I'm taking this from volume 47 of the Art Scrolls Bavli. Rav Kahana said, if all the judges of a Sanhedrin saw fit to convict a defendant, he is acquitted. What is the reason? For we have learned that where the vote is to convict, an overnight delay of the court proceedings is required to give the judges an opportunity to find a basis on which to acquit the defendant. So they do this together. And these judges, having voted unanimously to convict, will no longer consider any basis for acquittal. A delay of judgment is required only because more thought may lead to an acquittal. Since that is not going to be considered in this case, the entire judgment is aborted and thrown out, and the guy goes home. Again, Sanhedrin 17a. In Rambam's Mishneh Torah, it says, when all the judges of a Sanhedrin begin their judgment of a case involving capital punishment and say that the defendant is liable, he is exonerated. There must be some who seek to exonerate him and argue on his behalf, and yet the majority hold him liable. One of my tzaddikim used to use the term supermajority, because it's just not half plus one, it's actually supposed to be half plus two. And then only then is he executed. And that comes from Hilkos Sanhedrin 9:1. Again, this is a counterintuitive Mishnah. He is guilty. How much more guilty should he be when everyone agrees that he is guilty? But in all these cases, when all the chips are down and there is no hope, this is where the grace of God comes in. When there's no way for us to save ourselves, as a people, God must reveal his mercy and save us through the arrival of Mashiach, who will comfort us. Good Shabbos.